24 Christmas Tales of Magic and Wonder by Simona Garcia. First story, The Snowflake's Journey. A small snowflake is born high up in the sky, gently floating down toward the earth. It's excited to be part of a winter wonderland, but as it tumbles through the air, it wonders where it will land. It travels with the wind, seeing other snowflakes swirling past. Some land on tree branches, others on rooftops, but the little snowflake feels unsure about where it belongs. As the journey continues, the snowflake notices that each one is different. Some are small, others are large. Some have 6 delicate arms, while others have jagged edges. Yet each snowflake adds something beautiful to the scene. The little snowflake finally reaches the ground and lands softly on a blanket of white snow, where it finds a perfect spot alongside its fellow snowflakes, forming a beautiful shimmering patch of snow. The snowflake realizes that it doesn't need to be like everyone else to be special. It is unique in its own way, and that's what makes it part of the winter magic. Reflective question. What makes you special? How can you celebrate your uniqueness this holiday season? Second story, The Little Bell That Couldn't Ring. In a small church nestled in the heart of a village, there was a bell that couldn't ring. It was shiny and beautiful, but every time it tried to ring, its sound was too faint. The other bells, large and loud, would chime beautifully for every event, but the little bell felt forgotten. As Christmas Eve approached, the little bell worried that it wouldn't be needed. But as the church bell tower rang, a storm began to roll in, and a child, afraid of the thunder, sat outside the church in the cold, trembling. The little bell, sensing the child's fear, tried one last time to ring, and this time it rang with a soft and soothing tone. The child heard the bell and felt comforted, knowing they were not alone. The little bell had found its purpose. The next morning, when everyone gathered for Christmas services, the little bell rang proudly alongside the others, knowing its gentle tone was exactly what was needed the night before. Reflective question. What unique strengths do you have, and how can you use them to help others, even in unexpected ways? Third story, Piney's Perfect Christmas Tree. In a forest full of tall, majestic trees, Piney the squirrel was searching for the perfect tree to decorate for the upcoming Christmas celebration. She wanted it to be the tallest, fullest, and most beautiful tree in the forest. Piney spent hours searching, but couldn't find the one she was looking for. She stumbled upon a small, crooked tree with uneven branches. It wasn't the tallest, nor the fullest, but something about it made her pause. Piney decided to decorate it anyway, hanging tiny ornaments and strings of berries on its branches. As she stepped back to admire her work, she saw the joy it brought to the other animals. The little tree, though imperfect, sparkled with the warmth of Christmas. The animals gathered around it, and Piney realized that it wasn't the perfect tree that mattered. It was the love and effort that went into making it special. Reflective question. What imperfections do you embrace in your life, and how can they bring joy to others this holiday season? Fourth story, The Gingerbread Race. In a cozy bakery, a batch of gingerbread cookies was baked fresh for Christmas. As they cooled on the counter, they suddenly came to life. The cookies, with their candy buttons and frosting faces, decided to have a race to see who would be Santa's snack. The cookies raced across the counter, each determined to win. The fastest cookies zoomed ahead, but one cookie, who is small and a little broken, struggled to keep up. As the race went on, the other cookies began to get tired and slowed down. The little cookie, slow and steady, finally reached the finish line just as the others collapsed in exhaustion. The others realized that they had been so focused on winning that they had forgotten to enjoy the race. The little cookie, though not the fastest, had shown everyone that kindness and patience are more important than rushing to the finish line. Reflective question. What lessons can we learn from slowing down and enjoying the journey instead of rushing to the finish? Fifth story, the missing recipe. Mrs. Claus was busy in the kitchen preparing the famous Christmas cookies for Santa's journey, but disaster struck. She misplaced her beloved cookie recipe, one that had been passed down through generations. Panicking, she called the elves for help. They searched high and low, but the recipe was nowhere to be found. After some time, Mrs. Claus decided to get creative. She mixed ingredients in a new way, trying out different combinations, and discovered a new recipe that was even more delicious than the original. The elves and Santa were delighted, and the cookies turned out to be a big hit, making the night even more magical. The missing recipe was a blessing in disguise, reminding Mrs. Claus that sometimes the best things come from unexpected changes. Reflective question. Have you ever found that a mistake or problem turned into a happy surprise? How can you be open to unexpected opportunities? Sixth story, the magical mittens. One chilly winter day, a pair of mittens appeared in the town square. They weren't just ordinary mittens. Every time someone wore them, the mittens changed colors and seemed to glow with warmth. One by one, the townspeople tried them on, and each person who wore them felt a sense of calm and happiness. The mittens spread warmth and joy wherever they went, and people who wore them began to show kindness to those around them. Eventually, the mittens found their way to a little girl who was feeling lonely. As soon as she slipped them on, she was filled with a sense of belonging, and she decided to share the mittens with others in the town, spreading kindness everywhere she went. The mittens had not only warmed the hearts of everyone who wore them, but had taught the town the power of sharing warmth and kindness. Reflective question. How can you spread warmth and kindness to others this holiday season? Seventh story. The Stubborn Reindeer. Blaze was a young reindeer who loved flying with the other reindeer in training, but there was one problem. Blaze didn't want to follow the rules. He wanted to go fast, fly in all directions, and do things his own way. Every time the reindeer practiced flying in formation, Blaze would break away and do his own thing, causing confusion for the others. One snowy evening, Santa asked Blaze to help guide his sleigh, but Blaze, being stubborn, tried to fly alone, getting tangled up in the thick snowstorm. Santa's sleigh began to wobble, and the reindeer were struggling to stay on track. Realizing the importance of teamwork, Blaze joined the other reindeer in formation, following the lead of his peers. Together, they guided Santa's sleigh safely through the storm. Blaze learned that while being independent was important, working as a team was the key to achieving their goals and making Christmas magic happen. Reflective question. Why is teamwork important? And how can you work together with others to accomplish something great? Eighth story. The Generous Nutcracker. In a grand Christmas parade, there was a forgotten nutcracker sitting on a dusty shelf in a toy shop. The nutcracker felt lonely and unimportant. When Christmas Eve arrived, a little girl with no family to celebrate with came into the shop. Seeing her sadness, the nutcracker decided to give her his magic. His wooden limbs began to move, and he offered her a smile, sharing his warmth and light with the girl. Her face lit up with joy as she realized that the best gift wasn't a new toy, it was the love and attention she had been longing for. The nutcracker had given away his magic, but in doing so, he had given the girl the greatest gift of all, love and friendship. Reflective question. How can you give to others in ways that go beyond material gifts? Ninth story. The Caroler Who Lost His Voice. There was a shy boy named Jack who loved to sing, but every time he was asked to sing for others, his voice would tremble and he would lose his courage. One cold evening, the town gathered for the annual Christmas caroling event. Jack wanted to join, but as he stepped up to sing, his voice disappeared. Panicked, Jack stepped back. Then, one by one, his neighbors began to hum softly, then sing along. Slowly, Jack regained his confidence and began to sing, finding his voice in the warmth of the community around him. By the end of the evening, Jack's voice was stronger than ever, and the carolers had brought the whole town together in song. Jack learned that courage doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from trying, even when we're afraid. Reflective question. When was the last time you had to be brave? How can you find courage in your community and in yourself? 10th story. The Tiny Snowman. In a quiet village, a family built a snowman that was so small it almost looked like a snowball with a tiny carrot nose.
9th story. The Caroler Who Lost His Voice. There was a shy boy named Jack who loved to sing, but every time he was asked to sing for others, his voice would tremble and he would lose his courage. One cold evening, the town gathered for the annual Christmas caroling event. Jack wanted to join, but as he stepped up to sing, his voice disappeared. Panicked, Jack stepped back. Then, one by one, his neighbors began to hum softly, then sing along. Slowly, Jack regained his confidence and began to sing, finding his voice in the warmth of the community around him. By the end of the evening, Jack's voice was stronger than ever, and the carolers had brought the whole town together in song. Jack learned that courage doesn't come from being perfect, it comes from trying, even when we're afraid. Reflective question. When was the last time you had to be brave? How can you find courage in your community and in yourself? 10th story. The Tiny Snowman. In a quiet village, a family built a snowman that was so small it almost looked like a snowball with a tiny carrot nose. The villagers laughed at the tiny snowman, but as the days passed, the tiny snowman became the center of the village's holiday celebrations. Children gathered around it to play, families took photos, and neighbors stopped by to admire the little snowman. Despite its small size, the snowman brought the village closer together. It reminded them that sometimes the most simple things bring the most joy. Reflective question. What small things in your life bring you the most happiness, and how can you appreciate them more this season? 11th story. The Best Gift of All. In a dense forest, a group of animals debated what the best gift for their friends would be. The rabbit suggested a basket of carrots, the deer wanted to give a shiny stone, and the owl thought a collection of berries would be perfect. Each animal was convinced their idea was the best, and they spent hours gathering gifts. But when they met at the clearing to exchange their presents, they realized they had forgotten the most important thing: time. As they sat together, they shared stories, laughter, and warmth, realizing that the best gift of all was not something that could be wrapped up. It was their time, love, and care for one another. The animals learned that the most precious gifts are the ones we give from the heart. Reflective question. What is the best gift you can give to someone this Christmas, and how can you share your time and love? 12th story. The Christmas Candlelight. On Christmas Eve, a fierce storm swept through a small village, knocking out power and plunging the town into darkness. One by one, the villagers lit candles. In the town square, an old lantern stood in the middle. A little girl, lost in the storm, found her way to the lantern. She lit the candle inside and watched as its glow spread across the square. Soon other villagers saw the light and followed it, finding their way to safety and warmth. The lantern had brought the community together and lit their way through the darkness. The villagers learned that hope, no matter how small, can spread far and wide when shared with others. Reflective question. In what ways can you be a light for others during difficult times? And how can you share hope with those around you? 13th story. The Toymaker's Wish. A lonely toymaker spent his days carving wooden toys in his shop, but despite his skill, no one seemed to appreciate his creations. One cold evening, he wished for a way to bring joy to others, even though his work often went unnoticed. The next day, a little girl came to his shop and picked up one of his dolls, which had an unusual feature, a tiny tear. The doll's tear fell onto the toymaker's workbench, and magically the doll came to life. The toymaker soon realized that the doll's tears had the power to heal hearts. As the doll went on to bring joy and comfort to children across the town, the toymaker found that his wish had come true in a way he never expected. His kindness and care created something magical. The toymaker learned that even the smallest acts of love can have the greatest impact. Reflective question. How can you use your skills and talents to bring joy to others, especially when you least expect it? 14th story. The Star That Fell to Earth. High above in the night sky, there was a star that twinkled brightly, watching over the world. But one winter night, the star began to fall toward Earth. It landed softly in a snowy meadow. The star soon realized that while it had once shone from above, it could now shine in a different way. It glittered in the snow, illuminating the path for a lost traveler. The traveler, guided by the star's light, found their way to safety. The star had discovered that even on Earth, it could make a difference and bring light in a new way. The star was happy to know that shining brightly on Earth could be just as meaningful as shining from the sky. Reflective question. How can you bring light to others, no matter where you are? 15th story. Santa's Secret Helper. It was Christmas Eve, and Santa's sleigh was loaded with presents. Just as he was about to take off, a mischievous cat named Whiskers sneaked into the sleigh and snuggled under a pile of gifts. Whiskers accidentally knocked a present off the sleigh. The gift fell toward a snowy village, but Whiskers, quick on his paws, leaped out and caught it just in time. Using his agility, he managed to deliver the package to the right home. Whiskers learned that even the most mischievous actions could lead to good outcomes. Reflective question. What are some unexpected ways you can help others even when you don't think it's your responsibility? 16th story. The Candy Cane Forest. Two children, Ella and Max, ventured into the forest to collect wood fire, but stumbled upon something extraordinary. A forest filled with candy canes. The trees were made of sugar and the ground sparkled with crushed peppermint. They soon realized they were lost. They met friendly candy creatures who lived there. The candy creatures offered them warmth and comfort. Together, they worked to find the way out of the forest, and the children learned the value of helping others, even if they seemed different or unfamiliar. Eventually, Ella and Max found their way home, their hearts full of the magic of the candy cane forest. Reflective question. How can you help others who may be different from you or need help during challenging times? 17th story. The Elf Who Loved Summer. Sunny, a cheerful little elf, loved summer more than anything. As Christmas approached, Sunny found himself working in the North Pole. He was frustrated because winter wasn't his favorite time of year. While organizing gifts, Sunny realized that even though he longed for summer, he could still find joy in the present. By focusing on the beauty of the season and the magic of Christmas, he discovered new traditions that filled his heart with warmth. Sunny learned that appreciating the present moment, no matter the season, could bring unexpected joy. Reflective question. How can you find joy in the present moment, even if it's different from what you expect or want? 18th story. The Frozen Clock. In a small village, an old clock tower stopped ticking and froze in place during a snowy night. A little boy named Oliver went to investigate. As he touched the cold hands, he was suddenly transported to a moment in the past, a Christmas Eve spent laughing with his family. Oliver realized that while time may freeze, memories last forever. The clock, though still, reminded him to cherish the moments with loved ones. When Oliver returned, he carried that memory, appreciating each moment he had. Reflective question. How can you make the most of your time with loved ones, and what memories do you want to create this holiday season? 19th story. The Shoemaker's Christmas Wish. Old Man Jonas was a humble shoemaker who had slow business and little money. On Christmas Eve, he noticed a poor family outside his shop shivering in the cold. With no money to spare, Jonas used his last bits of leather to make shoes for the family. The next morning, the family returned to thank him. The shoes he had made were enchanted, glowing warmly with each step. Jonas's kindness was repaid in ways he couldn't imagine. Old Man Jonas learned that giving, even when you have little, is a gift in itself. Reflective question. When was the last time you gave something even when you didn't have much? How can generosity bring unexpected rewards? 20th story. The Mysterious Ornament. In a cozy living room, there was an old ornament passed down for generations. It was worn and faded, but had a magical secret. Whoever touched it could make one wish. A young boy named Max, who felt lonely, decided to touch it. He wished for something simple, a way to reconnect with his family. When he opened his eyes, the room filled with
20th story. The Mysterious Ornament. In a cozy living room, there was an old ornament passed down for generations. It was worn and faded, but had a magical secret. Whoever touched it could make one wish. A young boy named Max, who felt lonely, decided to touch it. He wished for something simple, a way to reconnect with his family. When he opened his eyes, the room filled with warmth, and the family gathered, sharing the joy that had been missing. The ornament showed Max that what he needed most, love and togetherness, was already within reach. Reflective question. What do you wish for this Christmas, and how can you make that wish come true by sharing with others? Twenty-first story. The Lantern in the Woods. A little girl named Leela ventured into the woods on a cold night to find her lost cat. The wind howled, and the snow made it hard to see. Just as she was about to give up, a lantern, glowing warmly, appeared in the distance. Leela followed the light, which guided her step by step through the snow. Eventually, she found her cat, safe and sound. The lantern was being carried by a kindly old woman who reminded Leela that sometimes a little light can help you find your way, even in the darkest times. Reflective question. How can you be a guide when someone needs help? Twenty-second story. The Reindeer Games. The reindeer at the North Pole hosted the reindeer games every year. A little reindeer named Tinsel was the smallest of them all and felt out of place. Despite being laughed at, Tinsel persisted, proving that size doesn't matter when it comes to determination and spirit. By the end, Tinsel showed everyone that the most important thing was participating and cheering others on. Tinsel won the prize of friendship, and the other reindeer learned that inclusion was the key to a truly joyful competition. Reflective question. How can you encourage others to participate and feel included no matter their size or ability?
23rd story, The Christmas Eve Visitor. A small family gathered around their fireplace on Christmas Eve, but something was missing. They hadn't seen their neighbors and didn't feel complete without sharing the holiday. Suddenly, an elderly woman visited, holding a basket of freshly baked bread. As she shared stories, the family realized they had forgotten about the power of kindness and connection. Inspired by her warmth, the family delivered gifts and meals to lonely neighbors. They learned that Christmas was about uniting and sharing love with others. Reflective question: how can you spread kindness and bring people together this holiday season, especially those who may be feeling lonely or forgotten?
24th story, The Little Tree. In a bustling town square stood a small, scraggly tree that people barely noticed. As Christmas Eve approached, the little tree wished for a chance to be chosen for the grand celebration. The ceremony began, and the organizers realized they had forgotten to decorate the little tree. The townspeople rushed to decorate it with the most beautiful ornaments. When the lights were turned on, the tree sparkled brighter than any other. Its beauty came not from being perfect, but from the love and care it had received. The townspeople learned that beauty comes from within, and sometimes all you need is a little belief in yourself. Reflective question: what qualities make you unique, and how can you embrace your individuality this Christmas season? Final reflection: the Christmas spirit. As Christmas morning arrived, the world seemed to pause for a moment. Families gathered, children played, and the soft glow of holiday lights lit up the streets. Each of the stories in this Advent calendar shared a special lesson, but the most important one was about the spirit of Christmas itself: kindness, generosity, togetherness, and love. It's a time to share our hearts with others, to spread joy, and to remember that the smallest acts of kindness can have the biggest impact. No matter the shape of the gift or the size of the tree, what matters most is the love we give and receive. Christmas is a time for sharing, for creating memories, and for bringing light to the lives of others. Reflective question: how will you carry the spirit of Christmas with you throughout the year? And what lessons from this season will stay with you?